disappointed that the officers went by by what these brothers said, because they have positions in the local and federal government that the one gentleman really was on a vacation, and he really shouldn't have been using his political authority in a private matter. But I think, Lieutenant Hunt, I think probably the biggest thing that's disturbing about this is if those officers would have done their job, this woman wouldn't be subject to what she's going through right now. She's been placed in a nursing home. She's being denied treatment for her hypothyroidism, and her health is declining basically at a rapid rate. And it all is based on the fabricated police report that the brothers submitted on August 3rd. And unfortunately, I know the officers are probably trying to do their job the best they could, but I hope they look into the fact that this family that hasn't had much contact with Pat filed a false police report, and well,
Mr. Bowman, the police report was filed with the sheriff's office.
That's right, and also I requested a the report from Irondequoit from August 4th, and Sue Rumfola sent me a letter back saying, sir, that that Irondequoit didn't respond to that complaint.
Well, yeah, but you asked for a copy of the report. There is no report from the 4th in Irondequoit. It was coded out at Code 40, which means services rendered. Ultimately, the report that you were referring to with Mrs. Rumfola is the Sheriff's Department report, right?
No, it was the report when Officer Federico and Officer Liard, because I initiated the complaint with Irondequoit. I went up there with concerns of her being kidnapped by her family.
Right, but didn't you speak to her on August 3rd? She was with her brother David in Pittsburgh?
We all went to a family picnic. We were all together at a picnic, and at that time the family never expressed any concerns whatsoever to us about anything. Pat doesn't have a mental illness. She has we just found out in July, about 2 weeks before this, that she had hypothyroidism, she had environmental toxicity from her job, high blood pressure, and some other physical illnesses, which I'm not sure if you're versed on hypothyroidism, but it will mimic a form of mental illness if it's left untreated.
No, I really would have no knowledge of that.
Right, but I know when we came up with Mr. Kamal that the woman at the desk said there was a report, but there was no names on it.
Well, it was clear to Code 40. There was no actual report that was written. When we assist somebody getting property from their residence, we don't really do a report on it.
Well, Pat told the police she was being kidnapped, and we have that on her own testimony for that.
Pat told who?
The police, and we also have her brother on record saying that she initially told the police she was being kidnapped. And the police didn't act on that. They didn't question it because...
The only person that made reference to Pat being kidnapped is when you came down to the police department.
Well, we have her brother. We had an investigator come up, and he ran into one of her family, and he admitted on tape that she initially told the police she was being kidnapped, and they had told her, do you know what you're saying? Do you know what you're saying right now? So she was kidnapped.
Well,
and the police helped do it.
Well, that's totally inaccurate, Mr. Bowman.
Well, the brother, the person that actually helped kidnap her stated on record that she did tell the police she was being kidnapped. When Patricia was in the house, she told the police that she was afraid of her brothers, and Officer Liard told her to shut her mouth.
Well, that's also not accurate.
No, that's not. Oh, it's not, okay. And also, why would the officers allow this family to come into my house against my wishes?
Well, because Pat is a resident of that.
The family's not. She could have came in by law, came and got if she wanted to. She was so frightened from being kidnapped, being held over her brother's house, and having her brothers bully her. What do you expect somebody to say with a history of a family that she grew up in?
Mr. Bowman, all right, if for the valid exchange of information, you have to also let me talk.
Okay, sir. I'm just, if it was your wife and you're watching her being exterminated right now, you would be a little concerned too, because this has cost Pat 6 months of her life right now.
Mr. Bowman, I have no control over what a judge of the medical community decides her treatment should be. That's not a situation that the police have any authority in.
Well, that day when Pat expressed to the police that she was being kidnapped, they should have.
Officer Laird asked her if she was where she wanted to be of her own volition, and she indicated to him that she was, that she wanted assistance in removing property from her residence.
Well, has anyone gone there and asked Pat since then? Because she hasn't said that to me or to the investigators. She told us that she was kidnapped. Her brother even said that she was being kidnapped.
I can only tell you what she told my officers and what has been indicated to me. She had every right in the world to go into the residence where she resides.
Of course, if she wanted to, but the brothers didn't.
Well, but if she invites them in,
she didn't. She didn't invite them in, sir. She didn't invite them in. So there's a cover-up going on here.
They collected property from the residence, right?
They got old clothes.
Okay, but she was being assisted by her brother. Who
She was being aided in a kidnapping by the Irondequoit Police Department by her brothers that worked for the State Department and program manager for 911 that had no interaction with this woman for years and decided they didn't like our religious or political beliefs, and they used the Irondequoit Police to help them. The officer had no authority to tell me that my relationship with her is over. That's up to Pat. That's not up for Officer Liard to dictate my relationships with anybody. And when she told them police officers that she was scared of her brother Ted, and they told her to shut up. It's not for them to do that kind of have that behavior.
You're the only one that believes that Officer Laird told Pat to shut up, okay? Because
why don't you ask Pat herself?
Has indicated that is not the case.
Have you asked Patricia at any time if she said this or not?
I have spoken to Patricia.
And she said, when did this happen?
Well, I'm not going to tell you in what order I interviewed people. I'm telling you that the information that you're trying to tell me is not accurate.
Well, I have her testimony. The investigators from Washington have her testimony, and we have documented evidence from her own family that conflict with what you're telling me right now. So I'm very suspect of what you're telling me is the truth, to be honest with you, sir.
I feel the same way. I guess we can agree on that.
Well, I think that they should have filed a police report if I went and initiated contact.
And that's understandable, but if we look into a situation, if we filed a police report on every little thing that we did, we would have no room in the building. It would be full of reports.
That's not true. I know the law, sir. You have a responsibility to file a report.
No, we don't, okay? If we render service...
Especially when you're breaking and entering in my house against my wishes. Pat never gave them permission.
I don't know what your wishes are, sir. All right?
It's my house, and and Pat didn't say anything.
She's a resident there as well, and she has keys, and she has the right to come in, and she has the right to invite people in. And at no time did you get ordered to climb through a window, nor did you climb through a window.
Oh, now, sir, you're lying right now. You are. My neighbors witnessed this. So now you're digging yourself deeper by just trying to commit lying. Now you're not. No one's ever asked me. Have you ever interviewed the neighbors? Have you said anything to Patricia?
I haven't told you who I interviewed, Mr. Bowman, nor am I going to indicate.
Well, all I can say is you might take satisfaction is that your department helped kidnap a woman, and as she's being exterminated right now because she's not being denied her treatment for her illness. So you ought to be really proud of yourself.
What her illness is, nor do I have medical expertise to indicate what her...
Well, I have medical records and all the documents from the doctors and the blood tests.
Conversation with the nursing home that she's been placed in by a court, not by the police department.
I don't care if the court doesn't want to look at those records, what good is that if the court was a fraud?
Well, I have no authority to dictate what her medical treatment should be.
Why won't you look at the medical records to confirm that?
What good would that do me? I have no medical training. I cannot indicate to a doctor what he should be doing.
Well, the doctors didn't do any tests to confirm it. They didn't have there's no financial interest in treating her for her hypothyroidism.
Roman, that's not a situation for the police department to be looking into.
Well, all I know is, sir, that the police did force me to climb through the window.
Well,
they did enter the premises against my wishes. Patricia did express that she was afraid of her family. She did tell
She never indicated that to the police officers that were there.
Well, we got documented testimony from the kidnappers themselves that said that she initially did tell the police that she was being kidnapped.
Well, that's nice. Then I guess you should bring that down to me.
Okay, if you want, I can have Mr. Kamel call you, the investigator, and he can give you a call in about 10 minutes.
About any of this because he has no